Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Michelle Foster of iTalent Corporation. Welcome to the Blast Through the Language Barrier webinar, where we're going to show you the most effective and scalable way to stimulate engagement in your online communities for members around the world in their various languages. Today, you'll be hearing from Fred Walters of iTalent Corporation, Larry Nelson of Lithium Technologies, and Jeff Browning of Palo Alto Networks. We'll be introducing each of them in more detail in turn. And at the end of their talks, there will be an interactive Q&A discussion. So as you think of questions for the speakers, enter them in the questions box. You'll see the questions box in the control panel. If you're joining us on a computer, it should be on the far right side of your screen. If you have any technical issues or have trouble hearing, just click the raise your hand button so you can flag it to us and we'll see that. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Fred Walters. Fred is general partner at iTalent, and among his other responsibilities, he advises companies on building, scaling, and optimizing their online communities. Fred, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you all for attending this session this morning. We're excited to share the capability of breaking down that last barrier within community, which is language translation, and truly creating that idea of global community. And it's safe to say that everyone on this call supports customers that are non-English, multi-language customers, and it further pose that your biggest growth opportunity is the non-English speaking community. And that's why we're excited about this capability, and creating the greatest reach for your community is being able to address that language translation need is the key consideration as you develop your digital experience strategy, and which frankly the global community is central to that. I'm also pleased to have Jeff Browning from Palo Alto Networks and Larry on this call to be able to talk through some of the capabilities and frankly present real-world experiences. From an iTalent perspective, we are a longtime Lithium partner, systems integration partner, and support some of Lithium's biggest customers, including Cisco and Microsoft and Palo Alto Networks. And our differentiation as iTalent is that deep understanding of the Lithium platform and developing and delivering a truly seamless experience for community members. And in this case, and what we'll be presenting today is around language translation and delivering that seamless capability within the community. I'd also like to introduce Larry. He's the VP of Business Development and Partnerships, and we have a great relationship with Lithium. And his real focus is developing that ecosystems of partners. And he before Lithium, he's had a career in scaling the digital experience across companies like HP, Yahoo, and McCann Erickson. And then Jeff Browning, enjoying working with Jeff and the strategy that he brings to the table. He leads the strategic digital marketing at Palo Alto, leads strategy development for their global communities. And I think you'll all be excited to hear from Jeff and his vision for the community at Palo Alto as well. So let's start out talking about global communities. In the past, the community and being able to support and deliver global communities have really been an or proposition. You could create one community, maybe an English community, and invite the global community in, but for those non-speaking users, you don't have the, they potentially don't have the ability to come in and interact at the level that they should or could. Or you have and you deliver multiple language-specific communities. And being able to support those, and there's costs associated with that. What we've done is created an and proposition to whether you have one community or you have multiple communities, we can support that ability to truly share within a community, being able to share and engage users of different languages together in one community, or sharing content across communities that are language specific as well. And whether you have that and being able to surface that content if it exists in another community or not. So with that, I want to get into and offer and introduce Larry and be able to talk through some of the Lithium experiences with language translation.
Great, thanks, Fred. Hi, everyone. So, well, first, really excited to be here. I'm excited about this, our language translation solution, and obviously even more excited to hear about, Jeff's journey at Palo Alto Networks. I've seen a little bit before, but obviously it's always great to get the updated numbers. But before we get into, Jeff, it's really important to understand the why and how this capability was developed. And when we take a step back, as we all know, most of the technology decisions are being driven today by consumers or customer behavior, and obviously it's no secret that those consumer expectations are increasing. And not only do they want to be served in their channel of choice, but they also want to get their questions answered now and often in real time. And Fred, we can go to the next slide. And these behaviors are obviously forcing a lot of these brands to create consistent, frictionless experiences across all of their digital touch points, which is obviously easier said than done. And that's why we're here to help at Lithium. We're doing this, helping deliver awesome digital customer experiences. We're doing this today with over 400 global brands. And we do that by helping essentially control more digital touch points, powering millions of personal conversations, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WeChat, SMS, and brand communities. And with those communities, we're serving over 100 million end customers. And we're also helping drive smarter decisions and creating personalized experiences based on all of the data we get, including 850 million scored cloud profiles. I also love this slide because obviously look at all those happy customers. And when it comes to digital customer experience, every brand's trying to do the same thing. They're trying to understand their customers, where they reside, what they're trying to do, and really who can help. And our engagement platform, we're trying to connect users to the right content and at the right time and in the right digital moment. And we think about the right digital moment. Are we helping those customers acquire, retain, serve their existing customers, or grow their install base? And on the consumer, it's really helping them. Are they researching and discovering? Are they getting advice, solving problems, and share and connect? And what's important here is, I think when we think about building products here at Lithium, it's we do a lot of it through our product and engineering teams. We do a lot of it based on customer feedback. But I think what was really exciting about working with iTalent and our other partner Linkotech is a lot of times when we build products, we leverage and partner with our ecosystem partners. And when we think about connecting customers to kind of the answers, what role does language play in that journey? And for us, leveraging the expertise of our partners like iTalent and Linkotech, we were able to develop the Lithium language translation integration, which is complementary to our international language packs. Fred, you want to talk a little bit more about the integration?
Yeah, exactly. And about a year ago, Larry and team came to us with this vision of being able to truly deliver a global community. And based on our experience with Lithium and the deep knowledge of that, being able to deliver and partnering with not only Lithium but Linkotech in truly delivering a very powerful language translation capability seamlessly within Lithium, so that idea of language translation and more importantly the ability to deliver a global community is exposed within Lithium. So being able to have the powerful language translation, machine translation, as well as workflows and other capabilities being able to bring that in and being able to frankly allow our customers to extend the capability of the community to a whole set of customers that frankly weren't being served before as well. So we're excited about this, and it's been great working with Lithium and Lingo Tech to actually deliver this capability.
Great. So I think what we're super excited about is obviously when we think about deploying branded communities and leveraging peer-to-peer based communities, those branded communities have traditionally allowed users to get answers from others in their own native language. So if it's myself and I'm in the English community, I have a group of users that speak English that can obviously answer my questions, and that's great. But with language translation, the audience of people who can actually help obviously increases, which is great for me because I can get my answers back much more quickly. But as a brand, it's also important because the amount of trusted content being created and leveraged at a later date is equally as important. And obviously, as the bigger crowds contributing, it creates a larger repository of the crowdsourced knowledge, which again is great when we think about getting answers to users more quickly.
And on this as well, Larry, the idea and the understanding that 25% of internet users are English speakers. That leaves 70% of internet users being non-English speaking users, and the ability to power through the crowd is enabled through language translation. So.
And to get more specific in some of the, what I think are really cool capabilities. So, traditionally, prior to having the solution, you can have someone in an English-speaking community really isn't able to speak to someone in a non-English community. And what's exciting here is now this person in an English community is able to actually write a question. It can be answered by someone in a French community, and as they post back in France, it can be then read by that English user in English. And this graphic really just shows the one-to-one communication, but this also is a multi-user approach as well.
Yeah.
And we've developed this today for it's no longer just one-to-one, it's one-to-many. And we've deployed this today for discussions and TKBs and blogs. And Fred, maybe you want to talk a little bit more about some of the other features that are in development.
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea, that whole idea of many to many. So right now we have the English speaker, the French user, as well as the potentially a German user, a Portuguese user, all contributing in near real time on a thread and being able to communicate back and forth. So the idea of being able to deliver this in discussions, and this is kind of the many-to-many idea. And then also with TKB and blogs, you have a kind of a one-to-many to where TKBs are developed, or blogs are developed in one language and can be translated into multiple languages. So you have the idea of one-to-many. In addition to that, we're working on being able to deliver ideation as well as groups. And again, what we're able to do is bring in that capability of that translation management system powered by Lingo Tech into where we can deliver forum near real-time translations through machine translation capabilities, as well as deliver and enable powerful workflow. So for TKB articles or blogs, maybe you want some human reviewers on that, so we can include that, develop the workflow based on the content that is being translated, so that that can be reviewed. And that's all essentially embedded within Lithium. You don't have to go outside, or what I call porpoise outside Lithium. It's all there for you. You don't have to open something else up and navigate there. So we're excited about this capability.
No, it's great. And I think what's even cooler, obviously, for those brands who have multiple instances, what's currently in development is, as Fred mentioned, the cross-community translation from one to the other. And what's exciting about this is not only are we expanding the audience, but now, content that maybe resides in one community that's, very engaging or escalates can now be surfaced elsewhere. So really, the value being created in one community isn't being siloed, it's being surfaced elsewhere. And this is a way to really accelerate, not just the conversations, but also quality content, through the various instances as well.
Yeah, and the idea of the term a knowledge asset, and there may be a knowledge asset that is incredibly valuable in the French community or a knowledge asset that exists within the Chinese community, but it could be valuable to all, and that's where we'll be able to deliver this idea of cross-community, as well as what we call in-community or within one community, and being able to deliver this capability so that you can invite all users in and translate that one community and empower other speakers into that. And that's what Jeff is going to be able to talk about, is his experience with delivering that idea of the in-community translation as well.
That's great. And so, not only are we excited about it here at Lithium, but we're also using it ourselves in our own Lithium community. So as you can see here, if you go into, in our Lithium community, you can see that all of the discussion areas are, you can see the translation working itself. And, what's really allowed us to do is start the process of breaking down the language barriers with our own community, improving the accessibility of our content. And, obviously, as the value prop for us is it makes, our customers that use the community, makes it easier for them to find their answers, and really by extension expands the reach of our own community. So we've been very excited and pleased with the integration. But what's probably more exciting to us is when we actually have real customers that, get to use and tell us how much they love new innovations that come from either Lithium or our partners. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jeff Browning of Palo Alto Networks, who's going to share his Lithium journey of the integration, but also how he's putting this, language translation integration to work. So with that, Jeff, the stage is yours.
Hey, thanks, Larry. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's really great to be sharing some of the experiences we've had with this so far. For me, I lead our global community or customer community strategy at Palo Alto Networks, and community plays a really important strategic role in how we help our customers successfully prevent cyber attacks and other threats that really potentially threaten our global way of life with the way technology is intertwined with that. And for me, this is probably one of my favorite topics related to community in general, because there is amazing power in our ability to shrink the world through online communities and be able to integrate conversations and expertise and knowledge and passion for things from really every corner of the world. And so to me, this is just an exciting new way to do that that wasn't previously available. For us, our live community is a critical and strategic initiative to help connect and empower all kinds of security professionals and IT users around the world and help them better use our technology and our platform to succeed in their mission when it comes to protecting both their organization and their customers from threats. So if you go to the next slide, Fred, thanks. So Live is our global community. It provides all of the things you would expect in a global community. Lots of technical articles, knowledge-based articles, blog posts, those type of things that helps our customers get more value from their investment in our technology. It helps unlock more advanced capabilities and features than just the out-of-the-box capabilities. It really helps them troubleshoot issues if they come up through their use of our technology. It's really the resource for getting that technical information. At the same time, it's a way to engage with other peers, right? As most consumers know, it's important to not only hear from a vendor what's going on and how they use, how people can use their technology, but it's also important to be able to engage with other users because a lot of times that in the trenches experience of working with either a technology product or a consumer product or really anything else, that peer-to-peer, consumer-to-consumer experience is such an important thing to understand as well. And sometimes the consumers actually know more, right? And so it's great, and so we are able to engage our users and our expert users and encourage them to collaborate with other users out there as well. And Live is also ultimately a great place to stay current on the latest capabilities of our products, but also threat prevention tips. And anybody that follows the security space knows that the threat surface and the vectors from which these threats come at organizations today is wider than ever, and it's coming at a rate that's faster than ever. So to be able to stay current and connect with other folks and connect with us as well through Live is a critical mechanism to help our customers be successful. So when you go to Live today, you can read these articles. We have over 3,000 knowledge-based articles. We have a whole section of tutorials that help folks learn step by step on how to get the most from their investment and kind of deconstruct on how they can unlock capabilities that they want to be able to deploy and ultimately be able to discuss these things with users. You know, one of the things we find is that security is a serious threat to organizations, and successfully dealing with the threats that they face is complex. And inevitably our customers and others out there have questions. And while documents and tutorials and those things are useful, what's really important is to be able to ask questions and ask them on their terms and on their time to be able to help solve these problems they face. And that's really where the discussions come in. And so today we have over 45,000 IT and security professionals out there in our Live community, and it's growing incredibly rapidly. And so really the question becomes in discussion, how can we continue to make that discussion and engagement even better? How do we deliver more to our users so that we can address the challenges they face, particularly in the security space today? Next slide, please. Great. So if anybody, I guess for anybody that wasn't living under or anybody that was living under a rock over the last week or so, you may have missed it, but one of the largest malware situations or malware threats we've ever seen, basically cut a swath across the world. And I'm talking about WannaCrypt, WannaCry, and all the related things with the WannaCrypt malware. And one of the things that's most interesting about that ransomware outbreak, if you will, and threat, is it affected 150 countries around the world. I mean, we've never seen anything like it. And I'm sad to say that I think we'll see more of those things. And so when you look at cybersecurity threats, for us and for our customers, they are a global challenge. And it requires a global approach to help customers successfully address that challenge. And for us, and as you look at the reach of our community, while 50% of our users, originate from the Americas, really the other half come from countries around the world where they may speak English, or but certainly, English is maybe not their primary language. And so the important part is, how do we meet the user where they are and help them deal with those big challenges they face, right? And so historically, there have been one way to do that. And that one way has been to stand up independent communities focused on a specific language. So in addition to having maybe your English-speaking community, you might have a French community and a Spanish community, and a Japanese community, and a German community, and so on. And while that's an effective way to reach users, for us, taking that leap to be able to resource, and it's not really a technology issue, it's more of a people and process issue, to invest in people that could successfully run those different communities and connect and engage with their users in those languages of choice. It really is a pretty significant barrier to do it right, to do it well. Larger companies do this incredibly well, but on our journey at this point in time, it just really wasn't an option. And so that's why we're excited to talk about this today. Now, anybody that's done digital also knows that localization and translation is challenging, but community, it's an even bigger challenge because of a few key reasons. First of all, communities have vastly more content than a traditional digital engagement platform and corporate website and all of those vehicles. Furthermore, and I'm saying not just from a content perspective of articles, but also discussions and other things that are user-generated content in those communities. At the same time, a lot of the content lifespan is pretty short. So if you look at our discussion forums today, we have 15 to 20, sometimes 30 new threads created on a daily basis with 2, 5, 10 replies to those. That could be a hot topic today, but 3 days from now, it's no longer something that's maybe the hottest topic. And so to go through a traditional human translation approach to that content is really not a practical or scalable or cost-effective approach to do things. So to be able to do fast and affordable and good translation that comes from human hand-curated translation, it's really impossible. So what it's meant is it's either you invest in a lot of different communities that are translated, or you just kind of accept that you can't do this at scale. And so that's what's really exciting to us about this dynamic translation that we've deployed and that Fred and Larry have been talking about. What it does is it really changes the game for us for how we engage our global community. First of all, it provides on-demand translation for all of our discussion threads in 5 different languages. It also, does some things that are interesting. Although it's machine translation, which sometimes, well, I think we all know if you've done translation before, is not usually as elegant or eloquent, if you will, as, say, human translation might be for really high-value content that you may be translating. What's exciting is this approach actually leverages our existing translation memories to deliver the best quality and continually can be tuned to deliver more quality in that machine translation to the point that it's quite effective. The other thing I really love about this is that, as Larry mentioned, Lithium has language packs that are really cool. What they do is you can deploy them and they will actually change all of the critical functionality and key terms and capabilities of the Lithium platform into these different languages. So when somebody looks for search, when they've changed their profile to say this, they can click, they see search in the language of choice or other key prompts in the platform. What's nice about this is this dynamic translation actually works hand in hand with the Lithium platform translations for a more cohesive and seamless experience for users of different languages. The other thing is for us, it's a practical and scalable approach to connecting with users across all of the languages we want to serve. So we don't actually have to go stand up independent language-focused communities to do this. We can have one community where it has basically a different view for different languages into that single community. And one of the benefits that brings for us is that we don't have to try to go out and seek out discussions and topics that might be unique to one, say, native community in, say, Japan, and have to surface that and bring it back to our English-speaking community. The same way someone in Japan can consume interesting knowledge and ideas generated in our English-speaking community and not have to try to go out and search and hunt for that and bring it over into the Japanese community. It's all one and the same. And ultimately, it empowers our user to interact and engage in languages and do one of my favorite things, help meet them where they are to deliver engagement and value on their terms, not just our terms and anything we may choose to do. And for us, some of the highlights are, we've seen thousands of threads translated since we've deployed this. Over the time we've deployed this, we've now seen 16 million words translated, so we know users are getting value from this and continue to find ways to translate threads. And one of my personal favorite exchanges is we actually see threads where somebody starts a thread in one language, they reply in a different language, and actually somebody comes back and replies to that in the original language. And in some of these situations, the users don't actually realize or care about how that thread was started, replied to, or solved. It's all one and the same, and it really empowers communication on a completely new level. So it's very exciting for us. So for the next slide, guys. So I think we're going to go into a few examples of how this works. Enough slides. Let's look at how it works. So if you go to live today, if you go out there and take a look at this, there are a number of different discussion areas that we host that span really a wide array of different topics and issues our customers deal with related to security. In some situations, not only how to deploy our products and configure and manage them, it has different environments like the cloud where they might deploy these today versus traditional hardware patterns. It also has things like threat and vulnerability discussions where people can post questions about the latest threats or malware they might be seeing in their environment, and seeking guidance from both us and our expert users and other contributors around the world that want to help weigh in and help answer those questions and provide their insight as well. So when you go to this, these are some of the different areas you can go to. Now, when you drill into a specific thread, this happens to be a feature request, which is one of those things we love to surface because community is not just a troubleshooting mechanism or peer-to-peer engagement mechanism, but it's actually a way we surface ideas and help respond and listen to what our customers want to do. When they go to these discussions, you can actually see a drop-down at the top of every thread where a customer or visitor can actually choose a language of their choice to translate that actual thread. When they do that and they click that, you can go to the next slide, a few things happen. First of all, they select the language and all of the entire thread is translated dynamically to the language of choice. It's really cool, and honestly, I would encourage you to go out and take a look at it either on Lithium's community or ours. If you go to live.paloaltonetworks.com, you can register. It's open registration. You can do that freely and actually try it out. It's actually one of those cool things that it's just fun to see, and it's pretty magic. I think it's kind of magical, actually. And one of the things that's cool about this is that it translates the entire thread instantly, too, because of the integration iTalent has done with Lithium. It then invokes the language packs that are resident on your Lithium platform. So in this situation, we translate to Japanese. It actually says this user is likely looking at this in Japanese. We should assertively change their language preference in the community to Japanese. She'll notice that things like key commands and other buttons that are core to the platform have now changed to Japanese. And one of the things we talked about, and this is a really fantastic collaboration with iTalent on this, we wanted to make sure that people understood that in a discussion thread, unlike more formal documentation or things that are typically translated by human linguistic experts, we wanted to let folks know that this was translated by machines, right? And so that they understand that if there's a few grammatical errors, it's probably, it's not perfect, but we're doing it to help them get closer to the result that they want. And so we kind of set those expectations for them right here so that they understand, hey, machine translations for them, help them give a few clues to help manage their expectations, let them know what's happening when they see it happening here. And it's been incredibly positive. And the users that find it, we've heard feedback that they love it, and we show it to other folks out there. The first thing you say, like, wow, could we have more languages, right? Could we do more of this? And that's pretty cool, and that's a pretty good vote of confidence. And if we go to the next slide.
And Jeff, may I pause there just for a point? Also, if within Lithium, the profile setting of that particular user is a specific language, whether it's Japanese, German, Spanish, whatever it may be, we will be able to read and understand that, hey, this person is a German speaker or a German user. When they go to these discussions, by default, it will present the information in German. They wouldn't have to pull down the menu. So that's a point as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Fred, for mentioning that. And it also reminds me of an interesting point, too, is that when you navigate back to, say, the top-level forums view, actually all of the subjects and all of the key indicators of each discussion of that forum area, when you look at the bulk listing of it, those are translated too, which is pretty cool. So yeah, there's a lot of things here that really intuit gracefully what a user is trying to do and help them be successful. So, what does this mean to us? The fact that this works so well, we decided, with really seeing the value of it for discussion forums, that we wanted to deploy this also recently to all of our articles and blog posts as well. So now you'll see when you go up to live within different areas, our knowledge-based articles and blog posts now have a similar capability to translate these documents real time for them as well. So there's an option that exists. Users can translate to a supported language, and if you click to the next slide, you'll see that this document's now been translated into French, right? And once again, this is all about meeting the user where they are. As Fred pointed out, 75% of the connected world is likely originating their journey with us and likely with your customers or with you as well, with English not being their primary language. And so the challenge is, how do we meet folks where they are? And for us, from a security perspective, it truly is a global challenge. It is a global threat. It doesn't see geographic barriers. And so to be able to provide this helps our customers get one step closer to successfully mitigating the threats they face in a really increasingly complicated world of security threats and vulnerabilities. So I think the next slide goes to, yeah, so that's it. So we're thrilled. It's a great solution. We're excited to be working with iTalent on this, as well as Lithium and Lingotech, and we've seen some really positive outcomes in our mission to help make this be a truly global community that reaches our users where they are and delivers as much value in their experience as possible.
And thank you, Jeff, for that. And Jeff was able to articulate and talk about the idea of creating that one community that can support multiple languages, but also the idea, and we're developing the capability of being able to deliver the cross-community translation. So as we talked about, for those companies that have invested in those communities, and there's a good reason why you've done that in being able to deliver those language-specific communities, how do you share content across those communities? Because there's value in those. That's why we call them knowledge assets. And being able to identify, translate, and surface that content in any number of other communities is important and drives, again, the increased value. And then as that content is exposed within those communities, we retain that connection back to that originating community and those users so that they can continue to contribute on that content or in that thread, so that you can have within those dispersed communities have a user in the Spanish community conversing with the German user who originated that thread as well. So that's work that we're doing now, and we're excited about that. And I want to thank Larry and Jeff. We're going to have some questions here, and but really your willingness to share the stories and the impact of bringing language translation to the community, and frankly the impact it has on the digital experience of your global customers. And that's important, is customers are not just English speakers, they're customers across the world. And for everybody that participated on this call and attended, appreciate your time. We know you have a lot of time or busy schedule, so we appreciate that. So Michelle, did we receive some questions from the audience as well?
Yeah, let me read those out. If you can go to the next slide so people can see your contact information in case they want to get in touch. The first question is, what does the language translator utilize any kind of machine learning to get better over time? And for the participants out there and the attendees, if you haven't had a chance to enter your question yet, you can enter it in the questions box, and we'll see it and get to it. So again, the question was, does the language translator utilize any kind of machine learning to get better over time?
And Jeff actually alluded to that, and absolutely, and that's the power that we've connected into with Lingotech, is this true cloud-based translation management system. It has machine learning, it has glossaries, it has that capability and that translation memory, so that as you edit and update those translations, it learns and the translations get better and better over time because you're investing in that translation memory. So yes, the capability is there.
Okay, the next question is for Jeff. Can you speak more to how important, or the importance of the live community to your customer experience strategy?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's key. it's really critical to our success, not only through our customers and helping them solve the challenges they face and providing a place for them to go, to connect with us, to connect with peers, to connect with partners. It's a really crucial connection point for our customers to be able to deal with some of the challenges that they face. And, you know, and security is a really real threat. I mean, and if people haven't seen that, you know, over the last few years, you know, there are a lot of people in the security world today that have been thrust into positions where they have to protect the perimeter. And it's not just kind of an ancillary priority more, it's a key priority because corporate reputation, you know, customer trust, all of these type of things are tied to effectively securing organizations and securing data and protecting users from these issues. Finding a place where they can go to get that information, and then if that information doesn't get them all the way there, and I think that's about experience as a whole, you know, we can make guesses or we can make assumptions about what it takes to provide something that's going to help a user, but it may get them 50% of the way there, or maybe 70% of the way there, or maybe only 20% of the way there towards helping them successfully address their challenge. That's where community comes into play. It really is the last mile or last 50 miles, if you will, to helping them ask a question, get answers, and solve their problems. You know, one of the things that I think is most dynamic and game-changing about community as a whole is that you literally disrupt and disintermediate all of the geographic barriers that exist in traditional interactions, right? And I think it speaks very much to Larry's point about the crowd and being able to harness the crowd. Because in some ways, certain subject matter may not have in one geographic area enough intellectual capital or experience to solve a problem. Like in my office, I may not have enough people there in that one physical location to help me address and actually unlock brilliant or best practices to solve my problem. So I need to go beyond that. And so, you know, one of my favorite examples is in my history, you know, once, you know, located an expert contributor in coming from Thailand. And he was offering feedback from Thailand that in the traditional way of thinking, in the traditional way of communicating, there's a decent chance we would not have actually been able to connect. But he actually had some brilliant ideas that because of community, it completely disrupted and disintermediated the traditional geographic barriers that existed to unlock really brilliant ideas that helped us move forward and helped other users move forward. And so if you take that one next step with translation, that removes just one more barrier to that freeing a flow of ideas and information and engagement. And so that's kind of a long answer to your question, but I hope that's helpful. Because it really gets at the crux of why community and why being able to meet users where they are, not just with their visual experience, but with language experience, is such a critical piece of our strategy.
Thanks, Jeff. The next question is, how many languages does the platform support?
The platform itself supports over 150 languages, and that's drawing upon, again, that powerful platform Lingotech in being able to support essentially any number of languages that you would essentially need within for the community.
Okay, the next question is, how much technical knowledge is needed to install and run the connector?
So as far as the connector itself, what happens, and this is where our expertise comes in as iTalent, we've built this as a connector, and what we are able to do is, and Jeff may be able to talk to this as well, given he has experienced it with us, is essentially it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to implement, and a lot of that is understanding your environments, essentially what we need is to get access to your Lithium through admin privileges, be able to go in. We configure everything for you. We understand what your needs are by working with you, implement it, and then essentially what we would ask you to do is get involved in user acceptance testing within your stage environment and then push it on to production. So essentially it's a pretty quick process in being able to implement and ongoing support. And as far as the pricing model, just as we get into that, is it's a subscription based. So there's a subscription for the actual connector itself, as well as a subscription for the translation management system, the TMS system, and then there's an implementation capability. So essentially the timeline and the overhead on your part is essentially 3 to 4 weeks, but we actually deliver the implementation for you.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add to that, Fred, too, I mean, absolutely, that's exactly what we've seen, and I think one of the things that is worth mentioning is that that collaboration and that resource extension for our team working with the iTalent team was very graceful and very seamless, and I think that was when you want to partner with somebody to do a project like this, to know that it goes smoothly, I have been there and done that long enough to know that some things don't always go easily, particularly transformational things don't always go easy, and this was strikingly and shockingly easy for us to go ahead and deploy this and make it happen, and we've been thrilled with the experience.
And thank you for that, Jeff. And just on that note is, as iTalent, and we believe, and our partnership with Lithium, I believe we're a really good partner, and we appreciate the partnership with Lithium, but also we don't look at ourselves as a vendor to our customers. We look at ourselves as a partner to our customers and being able to deliver that as well. So thank you for that, Jeff, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
Thank you.
There are no more questions in the queue at this time.
Okay. Anything from your point, Larry or Jeff, you would like to bring up before we close out on things?
I'll just offer once again that I think the importance, and Larry, you pointed this out quite eloquently, that the digital experience, the user experience, is such a critical thing today, and the best possible experience is not just like a checkbox, but it's an opportunity for differentiation, and building on an organization's reputation for being a customer forward and a customer first organization. And to me, one of the key pieces of this in an exceedingly and continually globalized world is the realization that you do have to meet users where they are. And I can't say enough how important that is, to not only just, like I say, checking the box and saying we can do that, but actually going one step further and saying this is how we philosophically go to market. This is philosophically how we care about our users. This is philosophically how we want to empower people to do more than they can do anywhere else. And for me, this is a key between our community technology and platform and the ability to translate and meet users where they are is a key piece of our strategy, and we're continuing to look for more ways to do this. So.
And thank you for that, Jeff. And tailing off on that note as well is that idea of customer and user experience, and that's what we've learned as iTalent within Community, or any application as well, is creating that seamless user experience so people don't have to go outside their normal workflow to be able to solve a particular problem. And hopefully what you saw as Jeff showed some of the experience within Lithium and the live community is that users are doing what they do today, but we're giving them dramatically more capability from a language perspective in being able to take advantage of the value of the community as well. So with that, I want to thank Larry and Jeff for your willingness to be able to share your thoughts and stories around this capability. For the audience, if you have any questions, you have our email address there. If you would like to get into detail, if we can provide a demo for you as well, feel free to reach out to me, Fred Walters, and I would be glad to coordinate a session to where we can talk and understand your particular needs and how the capability that we've developed in concert with Lithium Lingotech can be able to deliver some value for your organization as well. So with that, I want to thank everybody for taking the time and appreciate this, and we'll have this as a recording. We'll pass out to the audience as well if you'd like to share it with your peers. So thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.